This is the LMA. I'm thinking about this, Chris, over here on the left. And I get to see the face. That would be the slide. We'd do one of these, those I get to taste.
No, well, yeah, I've never come out past her. Anyway.
Like to do it.
I've heard before, but I'm falling in. Johnny come ladies.
And I'll tell you, Bruce,
They're not covered at all.
Jim taught him well, huh?
It's a new trend.
I bet Jim Brew taught him well.
They do.
Come in. Call a committee meeting, Wednesday, May 28, 2025 to order.
Councilman Haddocks? Councilman Bounds?
Present.
Councilman Dennis?
Present.
Councilwoman Faison?
Present.
Councilman Ogle?
Present.
Mayor Pilat?
Present. Would you please silence your phone? Stand for the pledge by Councilman Dennis.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment period. Members of the audience will have 3 minutes to make a statement or express a concern to the council. Is anyone here to speak to the council? No one. We'll move into the agenda. The Finance Committee is first on the agenda. Committee members is Councilman Bounds, Councilman Haddocks. First thing under the Finance Committee is the the budget for year 2026, proposed budget. It's open for comments at this time from any council.
This for anyone? Okay, I didn't know if they needed to speak first. Go ahead, Liz.
No, you go first.
I think mine isn't a very specific question. I'm just curious if we've had any update on the wage study, because I'd really like to see it before we complete this.
Yeah, that's second, but I mean, I certainly can answer that. Finance Committee met with the SSA consultants yesterday. The study is incomplete, and it's not ready to be released. It's probably, I'm going to think, 2 to 3 weeks, and that's what we were told when we left, 2 to 3 weeks before he could get back with us. So is it 4 weeks? It's been disappointing. And we pushed for a meeting yesterday to try to get something, but we certainly don't want to put out anything that's not
What's missing from it currently?
When he says disappointing, he doesn't mean disappointing in the information we found out. Disappointing.
Yeah, it's just
in the
wasn't complete.
time that it's taken him, and he
That's the disappointment. Maybe. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
And we started this process, like the actual questionnaire process in January, correct?
Well, November.
So November. Okay, so it's been
November, December, something like that. Yeah.
so it's been about 7 months.
Yeah.
The only thing about Kristen is he went and he got some benefits and pay from everybody, and there were some towns missing, but what we wanted to see was who was given. We pay Social Security and MERS, right? Or Social Security and PEPers. What are the other towns paying? And it's just to be able to show somebody that whether it's important to them or not, but out of every dollar we pay 50 cents to your retirement or whatever, and compare that. And he said he could get that in about a week. He was going on vacation till Monday, but he could get that because he's made contacts with all of them now. He just didn't understand that we wanted that as part of our proposal. So that's all that's left, is the actual, we know what ours is, so he has to do a little bit more digging.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they certainly do. I think it should have been back by now. Yeah, I was hoping it to be back, but it's not.
We just speak. Can I comment on?
Sure.
I mean, I know it's next on the list of people on about it. It's ridiculous. The fact of the matter is we hired a company that was supposed to turn us around in 3 to 4 months. We told them what we wanted. We made this very clear in yesterday's meeting that to continue to have to wait and not get what we asked for is unacceptable. It's easy to compare hourly rates. What we've asked for is that, and we've asked for all the benefits packages as well. That all goes into your per hour cost. So we're trying to understand that as a town, as an entity. And each time we meet or request a meeting, there's always a reason we don't have it. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know how many times. I mean, yesterday, it finally came to an end yesterday. It's like, oh, this is ridiculous. So to say that it's frustrating is an understatement, right? The whole idea was it started in October. It was pushed off in November, kicked off in November. We should have had this back by March. That gives us April and May to beat it around, get things where we want to go just in time for the budget. So here we are, last minute, we still don't have it all. And on top of that, we're missing some other things, right? There's more to this package than pay. The whole idea of bringing in an HR specialist was to give us HR assistance across the board. All right, we're not talking about just salaries and benefits. We're talking about the things that we should be doing as HR, as department heads moving forward with evaluations, with setting up job descriptions, with setting up evaluations, setting up training. That's all supposed to be part of it, and yet to see a single word on any of that. But we're trying to push the financial piece, get it behind us, so we can get that piece solved and deal with the HR things as we move forward.
Yeah, so guys could have a goal in their job. Okay, if I do this, then maybe I can do this.
So what is our final date that this budget has to be approved by?
Well,
Let's
maybe you want to explain what we've done in the budget.
Yeah, the budget should be approved and in place for July 1st. So it should be approved at next month's meeting. so that it goes into effect July 1st. Our budget year goes from July 1st through June 30th. So, and again, the wage study really has very little to do with the budget, because the budget can be amended if there's any changes during next year, whether it's wages or additional benefits or whatever it might be that we move into the budget itself. That there can be amendments to the budget. So to have a concern with the budget or anything in the budget certainly should be discussed. But to have a concern about the results of the wage study is really not anything that can't be amended during the budget year next year.
But there has been some wage increases
Yeah,
in the budget.
I reported that last month,
Yeah,
but I'll do it again, to repeat it, is that every full-time employee got a minimum of 5% raise. And every part-time employee got a minimum of 2%. So everyone received a raise in this year's budget prior to the wage study coming back.
So I'm looking at our calendar here. Our next council meeting is on the 11th, and then our next committee meeting is on the 25th. I know obviously we're expecting to approve this budget on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to want to stay it, could we still approve it at that following committee meeting? Is that allowed, or does it have to be at a council meeting?
Committee meetings are only for discussion. I mean, there's one meeting that's in the town charter, and that's the committee. I mean, that's the monthly council meeting.
So what's the process if we wanted to amend the budget after the wage study? I mean, is it just, hey, I want to make an amendment to the budget and it needs to be voted on?
And usually it comes, certainly you can do it any time during the year, but toward the end of each year, the auditors work with the town and finance department, with myself, and they'll identify if it's in salaries and benefits. If there's a need to amend the budget at that time, they will tell us what we have to amend it by, and the amount, and
so we have to get approval then over it?
no, all it's got to do is be approved by the council. But they identify, because certainly if you had to amend the budget because it's over a 5% difference in the budget at the end of the year.
The total budget, right?
In each column, so if it was in salaries and benefits, then they would notify us actually how much we had to amend the budget and in what area we got to amend it in. So that may or may not, even if you gave additional raises in the middle of the year, you may or may not have to amend the budget due to the fact that if we didn't have a full staff and the amount that we were using or budgeted for wasn't being used, then it wouldn't exceed, even though you gave raises to the ones who were here, you wouldn't have to amend the budget because you didn't exceed the 5%.
Finance clerk or billing clerk or...
Okay, so if you use it, even though it wasn't how you originally intended, you don't have to adjust, or you don't have to amend it?
You may not have to adjust, because there's a certain amount that's in the budget already for pay and salaries and benefits. There's a certain amount you may have to amend the budget in, and we've had to do that. You normally have to do it somewhere every year. It may be, and we've had to do it. different categories, but
We've had to do it in water, sewer, gas. Only 1 year since I've been here, we didn't have a budget amendment, and that's a rarity.
yeah, I mean, practically every community has a budget amendment somewhere during the year. Because again, the budget that you're looking at tonight is your best possible projections. But where you go over in maintenance or road overlay, or you're somewhere over 5% and have to amend the budget for that. Where you go over in emergency spending for the gas system or something like that, it could happen, and you just amend the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are.
I know it's disappointing that the payroll study hasn't been finished yet, but it's important to get all of the information in regards to a fair opinion on benefits versus salary for each employee. I know we just have to wait for it, but I wish it would have been finished a lot sooner, but I think it's worth waiting on.
Mr. Mayor, this was actually, I looked at the agreement, this was due, but they were set to complete it at the end of March, so they're 2 months late now. In my work life, I deal with a lot of situations where people don't deliver when they said they would. And at some point, I just go in and I say, I'll do it myself. So what I would like, who's even serving on this committee? Who's dealing with these people?
Same people you look at the finance committee.
So you got a meeting with them all along. 2 months ago, I would have said, hey, look, tell me what you need. I'll go get it. Because the reality is that I've been looking at these benefits at the wages since even before I got on the council. And what I've found is that every time I call a municipality, Mandeville, Covington, the parish, they are excited to give me the information because they know I'm from Madisonville. They may not want to do it for him because he's from Baton Rouge, I think, or wherever. But at some point, let's just go get it ourselves. Tell me what it is. I will get it. I'll have it for him when he gets back from vacation and he can finish his report.
He assured us that now that he had been emailing and calling and writing, asking for these information.
And he will keep on doing that,
All right?
until they maybe respond.
He finally, out of frustration, went and drove to each location, all right, and met the people that he needs to know, and he got the information he needed. And he feels very assured that he'll get the little bit of extra information we want by making a few phone calls next week. So I just assume give him the opportunity to do that.
Let me go back. What is he missing? Is he missing the retirement, the Social Security?
The things we're looking for, we obviously know the hourly rates that various people get paid, right? He's been able to gather a lot of that information. What we don't know is what is each municipality or place that he's surveying spending per hour on benefits and what are those benefits.
He did compare insurance. He did compare.
Well, he's compared some stuff. The fact of the matter is, he hasn't given us what we asked for. All right, and hasn't even started, hasn't presented anything on the HR portion of it all. So to say my frustration is high is an understatement. So to me, it's a very simple process. If he thinks I'm going to go do it and pay him, he's out of his mind.
So let me ask you again, what did you ask him for that he didn't provide to you? What specific benefit? I mean, where's Mandeville's health insurance? It took me about 2 seconds to get that.
I'll spell it out one last time. The hourly rate that they're paying per hour for cost of all benefits, right? Whether that's Social Security, whether that's members, whether that's whatever it may be, that's what we want to know. And you look at me with a blank stare. Your all-in hourly cost is what we need to know, and that has not been able to be provided to us.
He has health insurance. I'm guessing he has dental and stuff like that. He has maybe the leave benefits. Have you looked at that?
I didn't look at anything he brought in yesterday because I was not here. The fact of the matter, he didn't have it all. He couldn't answer the question, so to me, it's not complete.
It sounds like anything that's payroll related, like retirement, Social Security, is what you're asking for that you didn't get.
Right, when you have an employee, he costs you a certain amount per hour. just for simplicity's sakes, Deidre and I were talking about this earlier. Let's say your cost per hour is $100 an hour. All right? Employer A may spend $80 of that on payroll and $20 of that on benefits. Employer B may spend 50-50. Employer C may spend 70-30. We're simply trying to figure out what the hourly cost is so we can determine where are we misapplying funds. Are we spending too much on benefits? We put more in pay? Where all do we need to make our adjustments? So it's not just pay. When you look at a business and how to run it and run it efficiently, it's not just what the person makes take home pay. That's incredibly important. But also what's it costing your organization for everything else associated with it. Because if we take a poll of everybody in this room, I'd be willing to bet all of our health insurance is probably cost slightly different, both to the employer and to the employee. And more importantly, we probably all have slightly different benefits packages, right? Your dental may be better than my dental. I know it. So those are the things we're trying to figure out. Is what's the full all-in cost? And are we allocating it properly both in pay and in benefits, or do we need to provide more benefits and more pay, or whatever the ratio may be? That's what we're trying to find out. To me, it's beyond discouraging.
Okay, so now I know what you're looking for. Send me the towns, I'll get you the information.
That sounds good to me. I'll check with him. We'll check tomorrow. We'll get the information from you. Because I would like to have
He's going to take the time to do this. We're not paying him for it.
No, he's going to do it for him. I mean, I'll find out what he's missing because I would like to have the information from Folsom, from Obeda Springs, from Franklinton, the towns that we are comparable to. It's easy to get it from Mandeville. They got 85 people working for the town of Madisonville, but it's not easy to get it from small municipalities. So I would love to have that information in that comparison. So I'll try to get that information for you and get that to you so that you can get it for me.
Excuse me. I doubt that any person who holds himself out as a expert, especially in this type of area, would sign off on a report that a third party who's not associated with his organization would give him. I just don't see it. I mean, if you look at all these reports, whether it be accounting reports, I have an economic background, and they're not going to do it. I mean, they can't sign off on something like that.
Thank you. I have an economic background too. And what I will do is I will ask the person providing the information to include Cody Sauchier's email in the response. And he will have it, and I will have it, and we'll have the same thing.
Maybe I'm wrong, but what's it hurt being trying?
Nothing hurts, but he gets it, gives it to him, and then he says, I'm going to have to confirm all of this stuff. Okay? And that's fine, if that's what he did. But I wouldn't sign off on it. I mean, certainly. I mean, I know you have, I guess, some economic background, but, I have a degree in economics along with some other things that I had to go through all this stuff. And it's the protocols that one follows to issue these type of reports are relatively strict, not only internally as to, what goes on with, within the council, et cetera, but what goes outside of that as to what is represented to the public, okay? Well, we just put this stuff together because somebody gathered this. You want some affirmation from a third party that these figures are accurate. It's just that simple. If they're not accurate, okay, then you got a problem.
Was there an incentive in the contract for him to be done by a certain amount of time, or it cost him X amount of dollars? Thank you.
You going with the budget? Mm-hmm. All right. I met with the mayor. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me, Mr. Mayor, just to go over things. I have a few pictures, if Deidre can pull them up, that are related to the budget.
Is this in our file? The pictures?
If you want.
I just thought we were gonna have everything ahead of time, and everything we were gonna discuss. Yeah.
This is related to that.
Absolutely.
This is a picture of the grass next to my house. We talked about this last month. So I typically cut that myself. It's not a big deal. However, When the people out in Madison Ridge told me they were having issues getting their grass cut, I said, all right, I'm not going to cut my grass. I'm just going to see what it looks like between cuts. So this was the day before they cut it. We have a town ordinance that says if your grass is over 12 inches, you can be cited for that. This is town grass. It's at 22 inches. So related to the budget, Brad, is I don't think we're providing enough people for our maintenance department to even get the grass cut at a frequency that we would expect our residents to cut it. So we need to provide more people. In order to provide more people, we've got to pay the people an adequate wage. And that's just the way human resources works these days. Everybody's fighting for employees. What's the next one? All right, this is something, none of the street maintenance is in the budget as a line item. So I think we have about a $400,000 item for maintenance. Right. So there's no line item of what we're going to do. We have frequently challenged the state because they will not come in and paint crosswalks. Yet, we haven't painted them ourselves. I think this would be a cheap thing for us to do, relatively, to start working on crosswalks. This is on, I think this is St. Anne Street. So they've got the stop. You see the white line for the stop, and it's before the stop sign.
It's on Morgan.
Morgan? Okay.
Morgan at 4.
Yeah, maybe so. As an added protection for pedestrians, especially the kids that we have riding around on bicycles on the sidewalks, I would request that we look in that line item for next year's budget at putting in crosswalks of our own at intersections like this where we can do that.
Agreed. All right. Next question.
We're talking about on town streets, not on the highway, right?
Agreed.
This is a picture, I guess it's from last month. I showed you some pictures of during the rain that we had. It was 1 3/4 inches. This is on St. Anne Street. I know that, Cal's already started to work on some drainage there right across from the coffee shop, which I hope will alleviate some of this. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but I couldn't believe how much water was going down their driveway and then diverting on either side of the house. And on the right side of that picture, you can see how much water is in there. But, we had Drew Brewster come in too and talk about, his drainage concerns there on the corner where the old theater is and all that area. And then, I don't know where we are with this, but the mayor and the rest of the council had voted to move forward with a request for funding to do sidewalk work on 21. And I followed up with the engineer on that, and I learned that drainage wasn't part of that work. So as that work maybe gets closer, if we get the grant, I'm concerned about this area on St. Anne, and I'm concerned about the area on that corner that Drew had brought up to our attention. Because if we start doing work, once work starts, they dump dirt somewhere temporarily, and it blocks, even during construction, it can block where the water's flowing. This is another one. So this is that same day, and this is right over here, 1 block over on Main Street.
Same day?
Exactly, yeah.
Since we did the drainage work there?
That was a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if it was finished or not.
It's finished, because I have a picture of that, and I want to discuss each one, but go ahead.
So this is just, I guess, to ask Kyle to keep an eye on, to see if it's working properly, because this was even worse than the driveway on St. Anne. And that's roughly 1 block from here. Where all the work was done, we just did the overlay going to the river from Main Street. This was on the other side of the street.
Okay. What do you? You have some others.
Is it St. Joseph?
St. Joseph, yes.
So that was during that heavy rain, but it was only 1 3/4 inches. All right, I sent all of you a picture of my water. I guess you saw it. I think I texted it to you. It didn't look as bad as this one, but we got some more groundwater. At our last meeting, I think the thought was, hey, look, we just did this unidirectional flushing. Let's see if it works before we go out and get bids on new water lines, which is what I thought we were moving toward. So I got this. So I sent you my picture. This is off of Morgan Street. Glad's, she's here tonight. That's actually her water, maybe a few days ago.
Memorial Day. Memorial Day.
So Memorial Day.
This is after they did the drainage work on Morgan, so I don't know what's going on.
And so Kim and Gary are here too. This is their water. I think about the same time. So since the unidirectional flushing, that's what we have. So
Quick question, sorry. You said after they did the drainage work on Morgan, was it drainage or sewage work on Morgan?
Well, it's a good question. I don't really know.
Okay. Because I've been a little confused by that too, so that I came and talked with Kyle last week, and the $2 million capital outlay that we got is actually for sewage, not drainage, and that was the clarification that I needed as well.
Well, they
Yeah.
had pulled up, the reason I said they
Yeah.
pulled up the break.
So he did say we did just clean those out too, so it could have been that. That's what I was.
And then the water line runs right next to it. And I
Okay.
gotta ask Kyle, I think that's where my water comes in.
Okay.
Now Morgan, and I don't think his does, I mean, Kim, you and him may come off Johnson, I don't know, them may. Anyway,
You shot me that, ironically. We were bathing.
yeah, see, I think yours comes off Johnson. Mine's coming down Morgan, and that's what I'm saying, it could be some relating to the work they did underground recently,
Right.
whether it was drainage or sewer, I don't know.
Okay.
Because it's never been that hard.
Water. If you shot me that, why didn't answer right with it? 5 minutes later,
It's just weird how it chooses different houses. If it's all in there, you think it'd be shared equally, but it's not. So,
Well, I tell you, my water was there for one tub and then it was gone. So if the water's going through the system and you don't have your water turned on right then, maybe you miss it. That would be my guess, but
mine was running probably 2 or 3 hours because we had kids with water balloons and water guns and all that stuff. So it was running, you can see progressively just getting worse and worse and worse. And Kyle said, keep running it and clear up. Well, of course, the kids did. Eventually, about 7 p.m. that night, clear it up. But it could go on probably since Stewart, when everybody got there. That's what our water down there all day with sprinklers, and then all of a sudden it was deep. Yeah.
And
this was not during the flush, though.
Oh, no. This is Monday also. This is Monday.
So anyway, my point in bringing this up is that we've got the money in the budget are listed as a potential item for us to go out for bids and get the work done on this. It's $500,000, but it's not attached to any money. So I'm bringing this back to you and asking all of you again to look at your neighbors and consider going out to bid on this. I mean, maybe you don't like to vote on meetings like this, maybe we vote at the next one. But to fund this out of our existing surplus and go out to bid and get numbers on what this would cost. My understanding is that there's also, we added a whole new line on 5th Street to this bid. And even though you guys voted against it.
That'll be separate, just so you know.
Even though you guys voted against it, it actually went out to bid on 5th Street to put a new line there. Or we told the TEC to do that. So I'm asking to add this as part of my budget recommendations.
what, just the water line, or?
Right, to go out to bid, and it's,
Let's have the bids in place.
it's already ready to go out to bid.
Kim, when I spoke to you about it, you said there were 2 or 3 other people on Morgan Street that had brown water that same day as well?
No, not Morgan. Lewiston had it, Miss Gladys had it, and somebody else did tell me about when they live on Morgan. I don't know if they're a young couple. They live on that new white house that, yes, it was all.
The water is trash, but.
But my understanding is when we came here a month ago,
I spoke with you, and the concern was, not disagreeing with your issue of problems, but was it to go spend $500,000 on something that it could temporarily fix it, maybe there is some bad spots, but to spend that $500,000 without knowing that, that's why we decided to flush. And we thought 2 flushes we ought to try it. It isn't, rather than spend $500,000, it felt more comfortable waiting a month to see if we could, a month or 2, to see if we could affect it without spending the $500,000.
Doesn't wait 2 years. It's not, there's nothing.
So we've done the flushing. One time, and obviously that hadn't done much. That really doesn't get out much. So replacing the pipe, I agree with you, that probably might be a temporary fix. So is flushing. It's a Band-Aid. You're still putting crappy water in the pipe. You're worried about the pipe, you're gonna place $500,000 worth of pipe, with the same crummy water in it, it's gonna build up. Flushing it, it's gonna get that out, you put the same crappy water in, you're gonna have to continue to flush it on a regular basis, but at the end of the day, you're putting the same water in the pipe that you were concerned about putting in the new pipe. So I'm confused.
I guess,
You're not fixing the problem.
I guess my theory,
We're not fixing it with a new pipe, and we're not fixing it with the, hopefully flushes start working, but either way, it doesn't get fixed, I agree.
It doesn't get-
Gary?
So what are we looking at to fix?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you just just hit the nail on the head. Until we fix the problem,
And what are we doing to do that?
and we're trying to come up with solutions. We had recommendations from 5 different agencies, and we had approval by the state to add chemicals to the water to fix the brown water. I mean, I don't, you and I have total agreement. You know, fixing the water is a solution. Now, in addition, if the pipe needs to be replaced, and I've never changed my position on this, it's been very consistent. Fix the problem, fix the water, and then if we need to add the pipe, we add the pipe. We've got the finances to do the pipe, if that's necessary. But until we fix the water going into the pipe, we're just disguising the problem.
So the only solution right now that y'all are looking at is just adding more chemicals.
And
Another well, we got to do well.
well, listen, the chemicals that are requested are suggested is very, very minimal. And there was 13 other well systems, water well systems, just in our area, Tangipahoa, St. Tammany, and Washington Parish, that were using the same chemical that was requested or suggested that we used. Not only was it suggested, the amount was sent to the state, and the state has approved it to be used.
It's lead also.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's the problem.
you know, but
Well, I guess we still got crappy water, we still mask it. We just make sure it don't drop out. We still got the same crappy water.
well, listen, until we started adding, because we had to add chlorine, we had manganese in the water, we just didn't see it. We had manganese in the water all along. When the government made us insert
Drops it out.
now all of a sudden, now we got the brown water. And the manganese that's in there, if it's treated, then you're gonna not see the brown water again. You won't have the problem that you've had.
Yeah, and I'm not scared of the magnesium. I'm just scared of the other chemicals. I'm sorry. I'm not a scientist. I don't know.
And neither am I.
The engineers that came to talk to us about replacing the water line, asked Kyle, both of them asked Kyle, why aren't you using polyphosphate? And I'm not saying it's, I don't know that much about it. What I've read about it, it takes an extremely large amount to make a difference in your body or the water around us. It takes an extremely large amount, and this is very minimal. The only other option is by the time it gets around and we get a grant, you know, what, $6, $7, $8 million well, new well, that may not work. Because we may end up with the same manganese level.
Are we certain there's no cracks in the supply lines? Are we 100% certain everything's tight, close?
In the well, you mean?
Every testing that they've pulled, whether they pull it from their house or someone else's house or even directly from the well, they're all consistently, every time they pull the brown water, it is just manganese and iron.
I know, but are there any cracks in any of the pipes?
In the water lines on the well?
Yeah, the answer to that is no. I feel confident in that. I've asked Kyle about it, and so long as the pressure is maintained, he said there couldn't be cracks in there, or else we wouldn't be able to maintain the pressure. But just to respond to Gary, I don't believe the problem is the water. We've been told we've got the cleanest water in the parish. We've tested it 5 times, and it tests the same every time, 0.027. Cal went to a training, which I guess the town paid for, and he sent us back the information on the use of polyphosphates. And the information that he sent us said if it's 0.05 to 1.5, you can use polyphosphates. Ours consistently at the well. Our water consistently at the well is 0.027 or 0.021. It's less than half the recommended level to use polyphosphates for manganese. And so, to me, the issue is it's in the system. It's collecting somewhere, and that's why we're getting the high levels. It's not the water at all. We have residents who have expressed health concerns about the polyphosphates. We've had residents and business owners who are concerned about algae blooms or what it might do to their marina business. And to me, what we need to do is we've got pipes that may be 60, 70, or 80 years old. They're time to change out anyway. We're not wasting money on anything. What we're doing is we're bringing some relief to you guys immediately. And then once those new pipes get in, it gives us an opportunity to put a camera down the old pipes and find out what's really happening there, and even an opportunity to dig up certain spots. And if we're lucky, that's the only spot it's gathering is somewhere between your house and the well. I think we'd have to be really lucky for that to happen. I think, further down the line, we probably have other spots. But we've got, we tested 5 different times, and there were about 17 tests that came back high for iron and manganese. Those were all near an endpoint at like a fire hydrant. So that's evidence that it's collecting somewhere. And then when the pressure changes, it gets released. It's a system problem, not a water problem. Beyond that, I was asked by a resident to reach out to the Pontchartrain Conservancy and ask their executive director for some input. And they've done some work here in town regarding south of town for the planting trees to help with coastal erosion. She asked us, she gave us 6 different options for treating the water. One of those was the polyphosphates. One was filtration. There's some other options on there. And if you add the new well, that would be 7 options. Polyphosphates are not our only option. I don't even think they'll work. And I don't think they even address the problem because the problem's in the system. What I am concerned about is I've seen some federal reports of how dangerous high manganese levels are for infants. And if these polyphosphates hide the color, and we don't know when it's collecting and all of a sudden releasing, and we've got children in town, if I've got my infant granddaughters over and I've got brown water, I'm not going to put them in it. But if the polyphosphates are hiding that, how do I know whether to put them in or not?
Well, but remember too, it's going to continue to be, and I'm not making small of your concerns, but the well's going to continue to be tested, and we're going to know what's coming out of that well. So even if we showed it, we would still know that it's 0.027 or 0.05, whatever it is. We would still know that in the future, whether we added polyphosphates or not. So it might might hide it as far as when you see it out of your tap, but we would still know what's coming out of the well. But I'm not belittling your concern.
And listen, I don't know that they're going to work and solve the problem either. The problem is the water. And I don't know that they're going to work, but for 6 months, to put it in the water and see whether or not it works, could have already been done. When it was suggested, it's over 6 months ago that it was suggested to do that and approved by the state to do it.
From what Lewis just informed us, the levels are at a point that's so low they don't recommend it. Is that not what you said, Lewis? Is it higher
No.
in other areas?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's up at the well, or it comes out the well, and it tests higher further down the line. Is that correct? Lewis, is that what you?
Yeah, this is...
During the groundwater events, yes.
Yes.
Not like, if your water was clear, when that's tested, that's low, yeah.
It's gonna match that color.
Right,
The well still gonna test good, but it's not gonna test good down the road.
Okay.
right.
Yeah, and listen, it's suggested after that, at the higher levels, that is recommended after that.
So it's not recommended now.
It is recommended now to clear up the groundwater. We have, what the people have told us is that you've got clean water. You've got better looking water than most water systems around us, and we do. But they also recommended a very low dosage to put in ours to clear up your problem, to help clear it up. And that is what was recommended, and that's recorded and can be proven. So,
Precisely said it was going to be a cosmetic fix. It would fix.
no, never ever said cosmetic
It would
fix.
not fix the water. So if you're looking to fix the water, now no, it doesn't.
It's in it.
You don't know when it's bad. That's what he told me.
And let me tell you, I do believe it could be because where it's registering, when you show the brown water higher, and where other people have discovered it higher, it is from the collection, but it's the collection over the years in the pipe. So I'm not opposed to changing the pipe, but I am opposed to changing the pipe and not clearing up the water that we're putting in the pipe. Is my concern. Let's put the clear water in the new pipe.
Right, but if you're encapsulating it, just cosmetically covering it, we don't know who walked around, so we don't.
You know what's coming out of the well. If the water coming out of the well is tested daily.
But we don't know what it is, like Monday, what was in that?
When it happens, I don't know.
Well, if you cover it up and mask it, I'm not gonna know if you're right.
Every week it's
We
tested.
don't know.
Every week it's tested. So we can know if there was a jump in manganese, if it went up to 60.
No, because they didn't even want to take a sample.
The amount of polyphosphates are not going to change. It's going to be the same amount that you're putting in there, injecting into the water every day.
I think
You don't change, you don't increase it on brown water days.
The manganese level, does it go up and down at the well when we test it at the well?
No,
It does not.
So why are we treating it?
because it's recommended.
Already below
It's recommended,
treated gas. Why do we want to treat it?
because it was recommended.
Below level at .017 was?
It's a requirement over that level. It's recommended to us to treat it at the level we have to solve the problem that we've got.
so.
And the flushing, they flush it all out?
When we spoke and with Mr. Bell here,
Off the flush and cause and do we plan on doing it? For the whole town?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Call to flush it weekly, monthly, daily, whatever we have.
Well, we flush it every 2 months right now. And this is the first flush. Monday's the next flush. And this will be the first flush after the unidirectional flushing. So, we don't even know what it's going to look like. And certainly Monday will tell us whether or not maybe Did it improve any? I don't know. The unidirectional flushing was supposed to cleanse the pipe. And that's what it appeared it did from the reports we got from doing that. And certainly, in your water samples that you just showed us, I don't know if Gladys had worse water before. That's the worst you've ever seen? They've seen a lot worse.
Oh, I know they have.
Okay, so they didn't see it this time, what they saw before. So did it help you? I don't know. Monday, we're going to flush again. And we'll flush, we can do the unidirectional flushing again. We're not planning to do that at this time. We're going to flush a regular flush and see if that's cleaning the system. Did we clean the system? I don't know.
My question was the cost of doing that and how often, I guess until you do this, find out, you really don't know how often you're going to have to do it.
Let me tell you just a little scenario of what we've done since. And you've talked about your problem over the last 2 years. In the last year, we've not only increased flushing from once every quarter, once every quarter, we've increased it to flushing once every 2 months. We also inserted automatic flush valves in recommended areas throughout town where we were recommended to put them. So we've hired a company to do a different engineering company to do a sample of our system so that we could do the unidirectional flushing. We've done the unidirectional flushing after we got that system back. So we've continued to try to make solutions and solve the problem.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I don't.
And we've also done a core sample.
So, yeah.
When I was here last week,
Our water pipes are in good shape.
when I was here last week and I spoke with Kyle, Lewis, that email that you sent to the Pontchartrain Conservancy, I went over it with him because he didn't realize that there's many other approved ways of removing manganese from your water source. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of the 6 is by polyphosphates. And we did have that other company, I cannot remember the name, I'm sorry, come out to assess whether or not we could have the filtration system put in. They said we did not have the space, is what we were told, because of a backflow situation that you have to have surrounding the well and safety issues. So we know that another one of those 6 options is not doable, right? So on the current well, so a filtration system in the current well is not doable, at least the type that they were looking at. That leaves 4 other options. Kyle asked me to send this to him, and he was planning on reaching out and asking any of the companies that we've already worked with if they're familiar with these other ways, what they recommend. He is planning to look into this, is what he told me when I spoke with him. Right here in front of me. Oxidation by aeration or other oxidizer like chlorine, permanganate, detention or filtration. A lime softening process, manganese-coated media filtration, ion exchange media, and then there's polyphosphates, sequestering with polyphosphates and sequestering with sodium silicates. So, again, some of these sound like there's also still going to be chemicals added into the water, right? It's not as cut and dry as what, as we would like to think. All of it is going to be introducing something into our water, one way or another. Even with filtration, we're seeing manganese-coated media filtration. I don't know what that means. You're already using manganese. You already have manganese in the water. I don't know if it attaches some way or another. My point is that even though we know that polyphosphates can work, we are still looking into other means of trying to prevent this water.
How long is this process going to take?
I don't know. Yeah.
Why don't you just get the bids and have them there just in case you do?
I understand.
They're already sitting on the docket. It doesn't cost anything to send out bids. It's going to be all day long.
One thing,
Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
The bid has been prepared.
Yeah. What was approved 2 months ago was for the engineering company to do the study, to prepare the the plans for bidding process. So we approved that, council voted on that, and that's what was done. So it's ready. The engineering has been done. That's what was approved, and that's all that was approved.
What the hell will we send them out?
Well, if you send them out, you got to be prepared to let the bid, and that was the discussion last month. If you send them out, then you have to be prepared to let the bid, because it's really not suggested that it's a good process at all to get the bids. You get a bid within that budget range, and then you don't give it to the low bidder, you could have a problem.
I was having a problem doing $1 million worth. You postpone the project,
If you,
draft it down the road. Whatever.
I can tell you, you know, what my experience has been since I was on the board and as mayor, that if, once you get to the bid process, if you get the bids in, and it's in the range that you submitted it for, and the low bidder is not chosen, you're gonna have troubles.
So you always choose the low bidder?
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
But that's necessarily mean it's always
It's the
right.
lowest
That's
responsible bidder, right? And that's to meet certain qualifications that's starting to be done, but yeah, it's public bid law, unfortunately.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't mean to have this debate all over again. What I was asking was, I was asking to put this on the agenda for the next meeting, now that we've had some brown water issues, which is what people asked for. And let's see if maybe one other council member will join Kristen and me and vote to go forward with the bids. That's all I was really asking for.
Put it on the budget, on the next, on the.
Yes, just so you know, I will not be in attendance at the next meeting.
Okay, let me say, one thing that you didn't hear out of those 6 things that were suggested was the solution is to replace the pipes. It wasn't in there. There were 6 things that was listed, but it wasn't replace the pipes. You got to fix the problem.
Oh, neither was it. Was that in there?
Yes, it was. The polyphosphates was in there.
We did core samples of all the water pipes, and they're all in good shape.
The unidirectional flushing was the attempt to clean the pipe.
No, he's asking you, was that one of the recommendations?
So this was just treatments to prevent the manganese from turning brown.
But, well, no, replacing pipe would not be in that.
No, because
What's your point?
it's because it's not recommended. Replacing the pipes is not recommended.
Not been recommended by any engineer.
That's not the the company that was brought up, and that's an additional company. There were 5 others that I can give you the names that said the manganese is the thing to try.
You mean the polyphosphate?
The polyphosphates, that's what I meant. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your correction. I'm sorry.
It's the least expensive way.
Yes.
It is the least expensive.
Yes, it will, yeah.
It's the least expensive, and it was the first thing they recommended.
For the easiest path, cheapest, right?
But I'm just saying, have we looked into getting a new well on the south side of town? There's some polyphosphates on the north side of town well?
I'm so,
On the other, the manganese, they don't experience strong wells.
no.
So they wouldn't have to have polyphosphates, just our well, correct?
No, just ours. I'm on that same line.
That's what I'm saying, that side of town.
I'm on the same,
They don't have polyphosphates, but we could add ours.
we can.
Even discuss or look, I know it's probably exorbitant amount, but how much would it take to put a new well in? I know we have the room.
We've been told $1.5 million. We've also been told there's no guarantee we're going to get cleaner water.
That's, if you drill a new well, you may get the same manganese and iron out of that.
All the wells around here are on the same aquifer, and including both of our wells.
The well, the other well to the other side of town?
And just tie all the lines together.
You could drill on the other side of town, you could still hit manganese. Our engineer told us that. It's just it's all the same aquifer.
We're in a different aquifer on the south side of town. That was exactly what he said. We're in 2 different aquifers. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
No, it's okay. Quick question. When they tested at the well, wasn't the manganese at both wells the same? Or even at the...
It's undetectable on the south side.
Okay, sorry.
It's in the pipe, because when he cut
Right.
samples of the pipe, he
Right.
send the pipe over.
Okay, I mean, we do get, we're nothing like we've all experienced, but we do get brown water from time to time. No, nothing like what is experienced on the north side of town.
Okay, do you have any budget questions?
I'm not finished yet, I only have one more thing.
Okay.
And it's just to make a point here, that, you know, when I met with the mayor, we looked at depreciation that's in the budget. There was a line item for it. And I looked at the water depreciation. It's budgeted for $26,000 for next year. And it was budgeted for, I don't know, $26,000 the year before, $17,000 in 2024. But I went back and I looked at the calculations that Owen and White did on our water system. So they came in and surveyed the whole thing. They found 27,707 feet of pipe. If all we had to accrue depreciation for was the pipe, we've been told it's $204 a foot to replace, $5.6 million in today's prices. It would literally, with the depreciation we're putting into the budget, if all we had to do was a pipe, we could replace the pipes once every 217 years. So my concern, the town's been pretty fortunate and lucky getting grants from the state and somebody else to pay for our pipes. However, as I look at the political climate in the state and in the country, I think that money's going to dry up. And looking forward to the future, I would like to see us, and I'm not saying this year, but maybe in the next year's budget, we increase that depreciation with some additional depreciation. If the town had done that 20 years ago, I don't know who's been on the, you've been on the, I think Tim's been on the council the longest. You know, maybe we have the money to do this and we wouldn't have to be waiting for somebody else to pay for it if we just accrued it a small amount every year or an amount that would at least pay for the replacements. So that's something to look for next year, but that's all of my budget comments.
How much would you increase it by?
I'd at least double it, maybe triple it. If the pipes are 80 years old, then tripling it would literally, we'd have enough money in the bank right now to cover it.
Well, right now we would, but if this 1,000 feet or whatever is gonna cost, what, did we say $500,000?
Yeah.
It's $204 a foot, and then
215,000, give or take, maybe three.
yeah, so 400,000. But then they added Fifth Street, and Fifth Street's on there now because there's no water line on Fifth Street.
400,000 for 1,000 feet. Well,
2,000. It's 2,000. And just to let everybody know, that the depreciation is given to us by the auditors. It's not a depreciation I come up with. So that in each system, that's not an amount that is something that I'm doing.
I'm not blaming you for it. What I'm saying is looking forward, that maybe as we look at the budget, maybe we think forward a little bit more, given the circumstances with money. The state's trying to cut their budget. They have their own Department of Government Efficiency going on, just like the federal government does. And I don't think this money's going to be there in the future.
Okay.
A couple things. Let's just look at some of the facts that we know. We know we've got brown water, which shows up in certain areas unexplainably, right? We have Madison Ridge and we have Madison Oaks that has new pipe, correct? Do they experience brown water?
Yeah.
So I understand that. So what we do know is we replace pipe today. What are we, going right back to what Gary brought up earlier, what are we going to do to prevent it? We just kicking the can down the road, right? I have no issue with the pipes being replaced, but if we're just going to continue to infiltrate them with whatever's causing the brown water, we're going to have brown water again for the next administration. That's an absolute waste of fiscal dollars. Right? I think the biggest fact we know right now is no one sitting up here knows the answer. We've called in numerous companies. There's no consistent answer, so we're trying to eliminate them one at a time. I don't know what the answer is, Gary. Kimberly. And I'm not going to say
Biggest problem, I mean, after 2+ years, I would hope we would know.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. The brown water issue, I never knew it was a big issue until the campaign started. I had no idea you guys were having that kind of water issue, right? And now more people come out and talking about, so yeah, so it's something we have to address. Where I'm going with this is, no one sitting up here knows the answer. and you think they're going to throw in $500,000 into 2,000 foot of pipe, right, that extends to the curb close to my house, we know it's not going to last, right? And you brought that up, and that's a very good point everyone needs to understand. What do we do to eliminate it? How do we get to the source to get it going? I find it hard to believe there can't be some type of filtration system put in, right? I just find that mind-boggling to me. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't put a damn filter in? Are you kidding me? Right? We can go put one to put at your house, put one to put at my house. Why can't we put it? So those are some things I think that that I'll bring to Kyle. I don't know this email that y'all are floating around, but he needs to ask what other filtration systems are available out there, right? Because at some point, I don't know when it is, we know the pipes are all going to fail. The pipes, the brand new pipes that are in the two developments are going to fail at some point in the future. I have no idea when that's going to be. But right now, what we do know for a fact, we throw a new pipe in the ground, all we're doing is sitting there as a time bomb waiting to kick out more groundwater, so we put the same stuff in it. So that's one thing we do know. Right? Now, replacing the pipes, I think it gives us a short-term fix, right? I have no idea what the long-term fix is. I'm just trying to figure out what's the right thing to do for all the taxpayers, for our town. How do we get you guys that are experiencing this mess right now the quickest relief possible, but also doing it in the most financially fiscal responsible way? I have no idea what that answer is, Gary and Kimberly.
I thought Kristen said they didn't have enough room to do a filtration system.
That's what she said.
Okay.
All I said is we can put a man on the moon, but we can't filter a pump. We can't filter a well. I got to believe there's got to be something. You can't convince me that this the only well on God's green earth that does this and has had this problem. And there's somewhere has found the solution to it, right? Back to what you started with. Part of it might be the pipes, but we know for a fact that we put new pipe today. It's just a matter of time before it kicks out more groundwater. Right? And I got my neighbor shooting me a text on a holiday saying, look what I got. I'm like, damn. I was praying. I'm like, Sherry, tell me there's brown water in that tub. She's like, no, I'm going to go, crap.
Tim, to your point, I think we only looked at one filtration system. To your point.
I have no idea.
There may be others we can look at.
Kyle, whatever he's talking to with, because there's got to be an answer to fix it. Right? All we're doing is kicking the can. And at the same time, they're down there fighting with it, right? So we're going to find we need a short-term and a long-term solution, is all I'm saying.
It seems we spend a lot of time, man-hours, money, and energy for an image for visitors. I would really like to know how many man-hours y'all spend on grabbing grants for the park, sidewalk, flower bed, whatever it may be, versus how many man-hours spent working on this water issue and dollars. Sure, they can make it pretty.
I'll tell you, we spend many, many more hours on infrastructure than we have on beautification.
By infrastructure, you mean water?
I mean water, sewer, and gas.
Well, I don't know water.
Well, I know, but infrastructure, the things that you don't see. We had $2 million grant that's being worked around town right now for sewer system repairs. That's $2 million. That didn't happen overnight. Many, many hours to get that grant, and now to have the work started. That's being done on a sewer system that's 50 years old, that we're going to extend that lifespan for many more years because of that. I'm sorry? You don't drink that water, I know. I said, I tried to answer your question. For infrastructure, the stuff that you don't see, you don't get credits or criticism for. It's just the stuff that you see that you get there, that kind of response. But when you put the water, whether it's water work underground, or it's sewer system, or it's gas, nobody sees all that work.
Well, there should be sewer, and we need sewer upgrade. I'm not knocking, I'm not saying it took just as long to get grants for the river. It took just as long to get grants for the water park and everything. It takes just as much manpower to get all of that as it did to get that sewer grant, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Same amount. And you have to match the money of that grant.
Yeah.
So a lot of time and energy has been spent on the perceived of how the town looks and for people coming here. I appreciate the That's the kind of thing that bothers me, I guess. And we got these marinas, we know there's boats in there, people living on them, boats don't even run. Where's their sewer going? I know it's not your problem, you made that clear, you made that statement.
No, I didn't. It's not a problem. It is my problem. I got a boat, and I have to go out in that river often. So it's a problem for me. I think the parish should be monitoring the marinas.
Problem you as the mayor for is y'all.
Okay, but I agree with you. I mean, listen, for people to come in and say that for instance, the polyphosphates that we're going to put in the water is going to do the algae blooms. We've got marinas that are dumping in a whole lot worse than what our town system's going to be doing. So I agree completely with you. I mean, listen, that certainly is not something.
Is there an agency we can call, even though the town of Madisonville can't do anything about it? Would it not be in our best concern to bring in an agency that can? Have we done any of that? Who was it that made a statement when I brought it up before about residents dumping sewer? Was that you? This is way back when we.
Talking about the old well and septic systems that's polluting the rivers and streams. Yes, that was me. And you can look it up on the parish website. It's huge, a huge problem.
And there's nothing we can do about that. I guess that's grandfather.
No, you can complain about it. EPA's involved, DEQ's involved, the parish. Tim Smith at the parish is huge on that, trying to get it solved. But where the problem lies is you can't get residents to put in a $8,000 septic system.
Sure.
That's where it stops, you know.
But the river can be policed, the marinas can be policed. How can a marina have a license and have boats and with people living in it, and the boat will not run and cannot go dump their waste? You can't tell me the town cannot do something about that.
We can probably make a request with the Scenic River Authority,
Not
but
with the owner of the marina. They know they have these boats in there that people are living on. There's no way they're going over here to use their little sewer system, pump out station. Now, that's the only one we got. And I've never seen anyone use it in my, how many years of running up that river.
Where is it at?
at Marina Del Rey. I used to pump my boat out there all the time.
What he's saying is it should be a requirement, like Aaron, Sawmill doctors are saying, hey, you have residents that have boats, you should have a checklist. You have to go get your sewer dump or whatever.
Put it on top.
Yeah.
There's, or I know there's no portable pump out. Maybe that's when somebody started looking, I don't know.
Well, there's guys that have approached to do that, but then they wanted to use our sewer system to get rid of them.
But we could spend.
And at the time, we could.
On the park boat, but we can't spend, how much it costs a gallon to treat sewer? How much it costs a gallon, or a ton, everybody do it. We can spend millions of dollars for a park boat, but we can't spend 50 cents to treat the shit?
No,
They don't spend our roof.
no, people came forward, but our sewage system couldn't handle what they were gonna be putting into it. That was the only reason we didn't move.
We didn't want the
How
public,
much is gonna be put in?
we didn't want the public sewer.
Was what they,
No,
what they suggested would be given.
Currently, do we have,
Well, where does Marina Del Rey go? Just here.
I would assume that they have to be pumped out. I'm asking,
Where does their sewer go when they pump it out?
It's not in the city limits, so I don't know.
Just curious.
Yeah, it's not, it's outside the city limits, so I don't know.
That's all you minded it.
Well, or either they pump it, they use it and pump it in a truck and take it, I don't know.
If it's the same system since the 90s when I had my big boat over there, they had a portable truck come in, suck out their holding tanks, and carry it off. Because we would go around, pump out our boat, put it back on the dock. But I can tell you, living on the river, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting outside when I can't sleep, you can smell when 2 or 3 of the people over there crank their boats out. And it's illegal. But the two brothers that owns Marina Del Rey, they're not going to do anything about it.
But you have an obligation to relate to the right
Probably
agencies.
in at our request, as a town. And we'll do that, we're here, we're gonna make somebody mad.
Sounds like a good resolution.
But it is also, we have to go to work.
So I'm actually looking at our ordinances.
We used this group a while back with someone that come and spoke to us, and we endorsed it. I think what you're saying is why, we may not have control over it, but why couldn't we use our influence to the proper authorities to go take a look at what the hell's going on?
That's a selling point.
I just kept waiting on you to tie it back into your pipes at home. I was curious to hear the hitch.
So our marinas are supposed to operate in strict accordance with all applicable federal and state laws, including but not limited to the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Louisiana Oil Spill Prevention Act. So that is an ordinance that we have. Do we check on that? Do we have anyone make sure that that's happening? So we have an ordinance for it. It's just a matter of whether or not we're enforcing it, I suppose, to make sure.
And that would be for the two marinas in town.
Yes, this is our marina district in our ordinances.
There's more than two marinas.
Well, there's Joey's and Margaret's.
And the one right here next to Chipotle.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, we probably got four.
So, yeah.
So you do have an ordinance on the books for who's supposed to be, I guess, policing that, is it better word, who's supposed to be checking on that, is all of this in the, on the books, or who's supposed to be checking on all that?
That's the question.
That ordinance was put on the books 20 years ago. I think it was 20 years ago.
Well, no, but that's what we're asking right now, who's supposed to be in charge of policing that, it's on the books, and a lot longer how it's been going forward, who's going to do that?
And it's not just marine, I mean, nothing that I know. But you have tons of houses, right, up and down the river with big boats out there. That can be doing the same thing, but, I mean, I know you can't please, but it's not just the marine that's painting our river. Again, sorry to get off.
Do we,
You went to sewer.
no, I just went to infrastructure, which you don't see when you're trying to answer your question. The infrastructure that you don't see, the time, the money that's been spent over the last 9 years is tremendous amount of money on the sewer system, on the sewer plant, on the water. And do we still have problems? Yeah, we have problems. And we're going to continue to try to repair those problems. The example I gave you, the $2 million that we're spending right now on repairs on the sewer system will extend the lifespan of that sewer system maybe another 40 years. So this work has taken many years, and we finally got it working. So what you see above ground, it took time to develop the park, to put the walking path in, to put the gazebo in, to put the splash pad in. All of those are amenities for the town, and that's what you see. But that's not the only thing, and that's not the only place we spend money. I promise you.
Oh, well, no, it's not.
Okay, I was just trying to answer your question.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Just to switch gears back just for a quick second. I've got paperwork from June 2024 from Thornton Muso, one of the water companies, many that we've talked to. They also agreed first thing they would do was put polyphosphates in. But secondly, they also recommended a sand filtration system that Tangipahoa Parish put in Beatico for the water tower after they spent $2 million on regular filters that never worked right. But I think it was the sand filtration system that finally slowed down the brown water. I can't guarantee what the level was, but I'm going to try and get in touch with them and find out. And see if it's something, because I look at the well as point A, pipes as point B. We want to cure it at A before it gets into B. Right. Whether you got the same pipe in the ground or whether you got a new pipe in the ground, you still got the same water coming out the well.
I welcome you to do that, because their system, if you'll remember, for the people that was on the council, we probably had 100 people in the community, in the old town hall, from the one subdivision that we furnish water and collect and bill the sewer to, that was having tremendous groundwater problems.
Correct.
In Tangipahoa Parish. And they did fix the problem. So how they fix
No
it?
less than 5 of these that all recommend polyphosphate.
But isn't that the same, isn't that the same filter system that they determined couldn't work in ours?
I don't think so, Brad.
Maybe check.
That's why I want to check. We're going to leave no stone unturned.
Check and look how many different filtration systems there are. If we've only looked at one and one won't work, as Tim brought up, maybe there's another.
Mr. Mayor.
Bobby Miller spent $2 million and they didn't solve the problem there. Right.
Mr. Mayor, Tim made an observation tonight that is important for us to not pass over. The water comes out of that well, and it takes a left-hand turn and goes into Madison Ridge. About equal distance from there to the point we're looking at to replace the pipes. I've talked to the people in Madison Ridge. They've told me, yeah, we have some groundwater every once in a while, mainly just when it flushes. It's not a problem. That same water takes a right-hand turn and goes to Gary and Kim's house, and it is a problem. It's an embarrassment to the town, and the only difference between those 2 points is the pipe. That's the only difference. Thanks for making that observation, Tim. We'd like to have your vote next meeting.
Lewis, I love the enthusiasm. The only problem is I live just a few feet past theirs, and I'm just like the guys over here in Ridge and Madison Oaks. I rarely ever see it. In fact, when my neighbor has it, she calls me, and I've got probably 40 gallons of water in a white tub. It's crystal clear. I get it. I'm just trying to figure out, let's go back to a famous word we've heard numerous times at this podium, the root cause analysis. What the hell's causing the problem, and how do we fix it? We know for a fact we replace the pipes. All we're doing is kicking the can. I'm not saying the pipes don't need to be replaced. What I'm saying is, how do we fix the problem permanently? There's got to be a solution.
And what I'm saying is,
when we get to 2,000 feet, what about that person that's at 2,001? What about the person that's at 3,000? We still got to find the answer. It's not about
all the pipes need to be replaced.
Finding. Okay, we replace every pipe. It doesn't matter.
We've done the core samples of
There is a life expectancy. There's no doubt about it. And they've done core studies to look at the pipe. The fact of the matter is, we have brand new pipe that's got it. So how do we solve it? I'm not saying we're not replacing pipes, but how do we not prevent it from happening in the future?
I'm glad you exposed the stuff that you want to replace all the pipe. That scares me.
Mr. Mayor, we will eventually replace all these pipes, and if the federal spending continues to go the way it is, we're going to pay for it ourselves. That's just the reality. I'm not making anything up. If the pipe's 80 years old, at some point, probably pretty soon, what I don't understand is why this isn't the top priority. That's what I don't understand.
It is. It is. We're all wanting to fix the problem,
I have a question.
and it's a priority.
What if, and this is just theoretical, so you just hear me out, what if we replace the pipe and as a temporary solution, use polyphosphates temporarily until we can find out what our best option is outside of polyphosphates. So then we've got new pipes, we're preventing from more buildup further on down the road. This is the quickest and cheapest solution that we have to get it fixed right now without it building up again, while we also continue to shop for better solutions. Obviously, just like Lewis just said, the pipe is old, right? We could end up, hear me out, we could do polyphosphates right now. The polyphosphates are intended to prevent further oxidation of the manganese. That does not fix the buildup further down the line. So I looked into this myself because I was still confused because I'm being told 2 different things from 2 different sides. Everything that I can find, any credible resource out there says that polyphosphate is not going to remove the brown that is in the pipes past what's already been built up, right? So that's not going to fix what's in the pipes. Now, I know we can continue flushing. That's only if we can actually get all of the buildup out, right? I'm trying to come up with a compromise solution that is as inexpensive as possible, that can get us through until we can maybe get a new well, maybe find a more expensive, more acceptable way of filtration, and that way we don't continue seeing these big bursts of really bad water, at least in that specific area. But we're also making a compromise, adding the polyphosphates until we have a better solution. I just want to throw that out there, let it marinate, think about it. Obviously, we're not making any decisions tonight, but it is a compromise on both parts, and it's something that we could do now. So, anyway, y'all think about it.
It's still the budget. Let's get back to the budget, if we can. Any questions about the budget as it's been presented to you? Any questions from the audience about the budget? Next thing on the agenda, I don't think is the wage study update. I don't think we need to continue there unless someone has anything else to say. I'm going to move forward to the Operations and Maintenance Committee members. It's Councilman Ogle, Councilman Dennis. First thing on the Operations and Maintenance is the water system. The new flushing date is Monday, June 2nd. We'll be flushing the regular flush. And it's certainly, again, just to make it clear, it's on the north side of town that we're doing the flush. Any questions about that flush date?
No, I noticed that we got the signs out already, which is good.
We normally put them out 1 week in advance, yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, that flushing is our regular flushing, not, okay.
Not multi-direction.
Yeah. It's a regular flushing. Next thing on the agenda is the wastewater treatment, the point repairs. Pre-construction meeting was held on May 21st at 8:30 a.m. Grady Crawford is the construction company, and they were given the go-ahead to go to work, and they've been working. They've obviously, I would think you've seen them in town. They've been very active since getting the go-ahead on that job. Any questions about it? If none, we'll move forward. Next thing on the agenda is the Water Street Sidewalk Project. Bid opening is Tuesday, June 10th, here at the Town Hall, and it's at 10 a.m. Everyone's welcome to come. Any questions? None. The next thing on the agenda is use of cell phones during a meeting. That was brought up by Councilman Dennis. Do you have additional information? Or
Yeah, it's just something really quick. I got an email from PAR, which is Public Affairs Research Council of Louisiana, and it was recommended to all councils that all council members know it's illegal to text one another during a council meeting because it becomes public information, especially when there's a vote going on a particular topic. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. I can read the Attorney General's opinions on it if you'd like, but it's fairly simple. The Open Meetings Law does prohibit private conversations among council members about board business, and such communications are considered public records. And then the Attorney General's opinion discusses the use of the email and text messaging by officials, both within and outside of the public meeting. The Attorney General opines that it is improper for members of a public body to use electronic devices during a public meeting for the purpose of gathering/discussing votes from fellow council members on a matter in which the public body is actively deliberating and voting. And that's RS 4214.
What can it say about outside emails and texts?
Once the meeting is over and you're outside, you can make text to your fellow councilman, but not during the meeting.
What about an email or text to someone outside of the meeting, not on the council? Did it say anything about that?
Yes, you can do that, believe it or not.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It's all subject to public record regardless.
Correct, it all goes in the public record.
that's what I think the only thing, from my understanding what you're reading, is that if you're using your cell phone, then it becomes public record. It could be, somebody could request public records off of your personal cell phone.
It kind of segues into the next topic that I wanted to bring up, so that's good.
So, I mean, is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I didn't understand.
That is correct. The Attorney General also goes on to opine that outside of the public meeting, members using electronic communication such as text or emails to discuss upcoming matters with other members by itself is not a violation of open meetings law.
But Keith, isn't it limited to a number?
Yes, as long as it doesn't make a quorum. You're absolutely
Right, so
correct.
you can,
One-on-one.
That was the end part of the sentence.
Yeah, that was one-on-one. Yeah.
Right, I found that interesting, I just want to share that with y'all.
Any questions or concerns about that? Moving forward, next thing on the agenda is communication improvements. Councilwoman Faison.
It's really just to emails. I would highly recommend that we all get a town email address. One, I've had other people outside of our municipality ask for my email, and they were very confused by why I wouldn't have a town email. I think just professionally, it is a better look. Also, because what we just talked about, it's all, it opens up your personal email to being subject to, hey, if you need this, we can get to it, right?
Just-
Yeah.
If I can answer that, that's very, I mean, we had them at one time, and some of the council didn't want the extra email, and wasn't using the town email address. If you would like one, certainly, he was right behind you. If you'd like a town email address, certainly the town will provide that for you.
I understand that it can be arduous to manage more than one inbox. I truly do. I would recommend from a technology standpoint, everyone consider having a town email. But yes, I personally would like to get one if that's fine. I mean, I know it's a simple thing. We already have the domain, so.
And we've done it in the past. If you would like an email address,
And look, Brad just asked if I can show him how. I'm happy to show you how to.
yeah, so you've had it, I mean, you can get, no, that's your email address, I think. That's not a town email address. I mean, certainly, if you'd like one, Tim, would you like one?
I would love one.
Okay.
me too.
Okay, add me to the list.
Can you post those on the website as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah,
We can, yes.
well, they should be on there now with our individuals. It'd be a lot easier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor?
Yeah,
Councilman Opal, would you like to?
yeah, I thought he said yes, I'm sorry. I didn't exclude him. Next thing on the agenda, oh, okay.
I thought Kristen was going to talk about something else, which was communicating with residents. So I prepared something. I've gotten a lot of calls about this sewer work going on. People asking questions, what's going on? Why did nobody come tell me before they started digging a hole right next to my house? So I prepared a flyer, and I'm going to ask that, this is just a draft, but I'm going to ask that you guys look at it and consider maybe putting this on the agenda for the next meeting, once you've had a chance to read it, that we send this out to everybody. This is a process that's going to go on for probably a year, digging up streets, digging up driveways, disrupting people's sewer service. Kyle says maybe only for an hour at a time, but I want to let everybody know. We had an issue with the last boil water advisory where people weren't getting it, so what I would like to do is send this out, and this is draft, we make changes, but just send this out to everybody in town so that they have it.
So I'll tap onto that real quick. I think I've mentioned this to everyone here at least once. Ideally, I would love to see someone, and obviously this doesn't happen tomorrow, right? But a goal of mine personally is to have someone that we maybe even just contract out to come in 5 hours a week, tops, to come in, get information that needs to be disseminated and be more of a communications liaison, handling the releases on the website, so that's not on Deidre's plate anymore, because I know that she has more than enough, but also communicating to newspapers, and doing our social media for us, making sure that we're communicating in every way possible. Someone that specializes in this, that knows how to approach all of those different levels of communication, right? It's great that we've managed it on our own thus far, but there is a lot more to communicating with the public than there once was because of social media, because of the way that other people are doing it. That raises the bar of where people expect to be communicated with, right? So we're not just talking about a robocall, we're not just talking about posting signs. I know all of this seems excessive, right? The reality is that people expect it to be blasted in their face. That is how communication is done now. We're used to it, we're spoiled by it, and we expect it, especially younger generations, right? I think this is great, Lewis. But I think we could also do a nice write-up on our website that explains this is where the money came from, this is what we're doing, this is how long we expect it to take. If you have further questions, call us. Right, I know, but it could be put on the website as a, right, so it could be like a news release. It's a positive thing. This is a great thing, and it's a good way for us to give ourselves a little pat on the back, but also let people know it's an awareness thing. Having a specific person that is designated for that makes sure that little things don't fall through the cracks. And I'm not talking about a full-time employee. I know that that's not in our budget. But someone that works 5 to 10 hours a week, I think that that's probably doable one day. Again, not tomorrow, but I think that's something I'd like to see eventually.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? Moving forward, lighting ordinance and gas pump limits was brought up by a resident as far as his concerns with some potential challenges that we may have in two different areas. I know that Mr. Danner has taken on one of the two, and Al kind of followed up on the lighting ordinance. Has he sent that to everyone? The lighting ordinance from Covington? Yeah, so certainly I'd like this, just we can look at that, look at Covington's as a sample, and certainly make some recommendations, some thoughts and concerns, how we want to move forward on that. But I would like to, on the second part of this, with the concerns on the property, I asked Mr. Danner to look into this because it may be something that we need to act on sooner than later. Bruce, would you kind of just review with everyone what your thoughts and moving forward would be?
Well, as you know, Mayor, we discussed two sections of our zoning ordinance. Was it multifamily? I don't have it right in front of me, the name of the ordinances, but there's two of them, and it would apply to both. And I prepared an ordinance, I'm sorry, not an ordinance, an amendment to both of those ordinances relating to gas stations.
That wouldn't be in multifamily. It would be in the commercial. We just finished the multifamily one.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, this is
commercial. That's why I asked.
Yeah, this is commercial. Yeah, business commercial.
Right.
Highway commercial.
And so I have a draft here. It's a limitation, okay, with regard to the number of pumps that would be allowed, okay, on any particular location, okay, and I very carefully worded the definition of location, so you got to take a look at that carefully.
Would you read what you...
Sure.
Just for some information for the council to
so
consider.
this is under automotive service centers and sales, be subject to the limitations and restrictions as follows. But subject, that's supposed to be but. But subject. But, okay, so we have B8, and that's what we're talking about, 3690 B8. B8 reads as a division of this zoning, automotive service centers and sales. What I added is following. But subject to the limitations and restrictions as follows. 1, there shall be a maximum number of gas pumps not to exceed 4 at any one location. 2, location, quote-unquote, shall mean a single contiguous parcel of land designated for the operation of a gas station, including all structures, driveways, and parking areas associated with that station. For the purpose of this ordinance, a location shall not contain more than 4 dispensing pumps, regardless of the number of fueling positions or islands. Each location shall be considered an independent unit for zoning and licensing purposes, and multiple locations on a single parcel or contiguous parcel shall be considered a single location with regards to the limit. That's it.
Are you counting, so a pump has 2 sides, are you counting like really just 2 pumps with 4 nozzles?
That's right. That's right. 4 nozzles, that's why I say,
So 2 pumps is what I'm.
2 pumps, yeah. Well, whether it's 2 pumps, 3 pumps, or it doesn't matter, it's 4 nozzles.
Actually, that was a consideration to be left open for the council to insert
Right.
the number of pumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
They currently have 4 over here, so I did 2, 4.
Right.
4 pumps.
Sorry.
Or now, just two stations? One nozzle on each side, is that what they have?
Correct.
So they got,
4 people can be pumping at one time.
they got 8 nozzles then.
No, they've got, 4 people can be pumping at one time.
Okay.
Some pumps have 3 nozzles, one for diesel and one for, some pumps literally have 3 nozzles, one for diesel, one for regular, and then one for, ethanol.
This is the subject. It says 4 dispensing pumps, regardless of the number of fueling positions or islands. Okay?
Okay.
Would mean you could have 18 pumps.
Right.
I think that is on that one.
4 dispensing pumps.
4 dispensing pumps are 4 physical pumps, which means you can pump 8 cars at one time.
That's not what
Single pump, you have 2 sides, that was the same way.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Because a dispenser in a pump has 2 sides to it.
You gotta say pump, because the handles could be, you could have 16 handles.
Why don't we do this?
You got
Bruce, why don't we just send that out to the council so they can review it, study it, come back with recommendations if they.
Deidre, you have it, just change the B to a but.
I need to read that just for a little while. Oh, yeah. You have somebody from there want to put it.
So just to clarify, Bruce, you only wrote that part. We didn't address like the canopy or anything like that, because I know that was discussed in the, okay. During the last meeting, well, we mentioned if there was going to be a giant awning put out, that's something we don't really see.
That's 40 feet anyway, because that's it.
Right. Well, 40 feet is high, yeah, so
Okay.
I guess that's something we might want to consider as well, so like those big commercial gas stations, you see a much higher awning than what we currently have, right, in town. Those are both rather short. So maybe we want to measure those and say, okay, that's the limit, right?
Yes, agree. So maybe we could put a height for what currently is.
What? Well, we already have that.
No, but it's the 40 foot was in the, as far as the height of the building couldn't be a maximum of 40 feet. But what they're suggesting is that the canopy over the pumps would be much less than that.
So you just said 40 feet.
Bill, when I clarified, I meant, so that 40 feet is a standard throughout the town, right? We're talking specifically only above the pumps. So we don't want like those big commercial gas stations coming with the giant ones, right?
How many feet do you want?
So we were saying we want to see what the tallest one is between the 2 existing gas stations.
Oh, so just leave it blank.
Right, leave it blank for now, we'll get that information. Yeah. Thank you.
And then, on the same lines, I guess we're going to discuss the lighting. Does anybody have owls?
Everybody.
I know, but handy to read it? I mean,
I read it.
But it's multi-pages, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
You got to spend some time on it.
Yeah, it's,
All right, I read it a week or so ago, but I don't remember all the details.
yeah, it's going to take some time. But the lighting is not as big a challenge as the gas pumps.
Oh, I think the lighting can become very challenging.
Well, yeah, but we got time to do that. We can, yeah. It'll be sent out to you for your review and considerations for,
Let me, Deidre, I'll put this additional language in there, and I'll give it to you tomorrow, and then it can be sent out, okay?
next thing on the agenda is rental rates. Councilman Over.
Okay, so I reached out to the Attorney General's office to see if we could, if it was legal to offer discounts to town residents and business owners on the rental rates that we charge for meeting space here. They agreed to give us an opinion on that, but they want a resolution from us. So I just drafted one. I've got it to hand out if you want to look at it. When we put it on the agenda for the next meeting, vote up or down on it. This is just a resolution to ask them to give us an opinion whether or not this would be legal to have a discount for residents for charges that we have.
So you don't have the opinion from them as of yet, correct? Gotcha.
Lewis, did you ask them whether they had any cases in their library that they decided previously?
They didn't even answer that, no. I can't remember my exact wording to them, but
That you're looking for anything in their library?
I don't remember the exact wording that I gave them when I requested it. I looked in the library because it's available to the public, and I didn't see anything.
What library was that?
You can do a search online.
I'm just wondering, you have the basic two for lawyers anyway is LexisNexis and Westlaw.
For the opinions, there's a website for the Attorney General, and you can just do a search on there. Now, I don't know how good the search is, but I searched and I didn't see anything related to this.
Okay.
Certainly, our question, is this a normal practice for the Attorney General to have a resolution request?
We asked the Attorney General one time to give us an opinion. This was a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't remember creating a resolution.
Yeah, I don't
What?
We have a new Attorney General, so it might be her decision.
Yeah, and again, what we're going to get back from the Attorney General is an opinion. What we got from the state legislative auditor was, no, you can't do it. So, it seems like a waste of time to me, but I don't have any objections to do it.
So everybody knows, an Attorney General's opinion is an opinion. It's not unusual for it to be overturned in court. Okay? It's just an opinion. I'm not saying it's done every day, but...
even if it came back with a positive opinion, you can't go against the legislative auditors. The state auditor, I questioned her, and she said, you cannot do it.
That'll be a red flag.
I believe you can just search St. Bernard Parish, ex-parish president that's being charged for improperly giving discounts to publicly owned property with the town in St. Bernard Parish. I think he's being prosecuted for that right now.
Actually, I did search for that, Councilman, because you mentioned it before. What he did was he used the facility, didn't pay anything, and charged the alcohol, all the rental equipment to the parish or the city of Chalmette. It's nothing like this. I looked it up.
Okay. It certainly can be put on, be considered to do.
Could I see that?
So if we have the Attorney General make a recommendation, they say yes, then we bring it to the legislative auditors and say, hey, look, this is what the Attorney General says. You sure you don't want to reconsider? And see what they say? I mean, hey, I don't know.
I don't think the legislative board is going to reconsider their position because they said it's no. I mean, it was an immediate no.
We would have to take them to court.
Oh, that's it. We're not going to do that.
I don't want to give a discount and be charged. I can tell you, and I got to sign off on that. So
I'm happy to reach out to them too, Kristen. That makes sense. I don't think that they did not get this language. I don't know what they were asked, honestly. I'd like to have them see this and see.
Are you questioning what I asked them?
I don't know what you asked.
I asked them, is it legal to give a discount to town citizens on town property, on town businesses? Now, I don't understand what you just made a statement saying. You don't know what they were asked. I made it clear what I asked, and I brought your information to them to ask them that same question. So if I wasn't clear, you can reach out and ask them yourself. But I didn't like what you just insinuated, that I might have not asked the question.
So the legislative auditor told you immediately, no, it was illegal to do that?
Yeah. So take it to the legislative auditor yourself and ask the question the way you want to ask it. I don't understand. Any other questions on this? Next thing on the agenda is proposed to honor military services by Councilman Ogle.
You got plenty to look at tonight. So we talked at our last meeting about bringing up before the town, I mentioned that we have a town resident who grew up in town who has joined the Marine Corps, actually as a commissioned officer, and is due to head off to, I think, OCS in the fall. So I've asked that family to come be recognized at the next meeting. I added to that something that I'd seen when I was out in Huntington Beach, California, and when I looked into it, I found there were actually plenty of other towns who do this, but to put up banners around town to honor especially people who joined the military, who have recently joined the military, but I wouldn't think we'd have a lot of those, but so I added also military veterans. And the way it works in Huntington Beach is somebody can sponsor that veteran or that military service member, and we have a banner printed up, the city puts it up, and it's displayed there in town for everybody to see. So this is a draft of what I put together for us to do that. I've got a cost for each banner of $150, which I think will cover the cost of the banner, and probably leave a little bit more for brackets if we need them, or the installation itself. But again, this is just to share with you, let you look at and read, give an opinion on. I would like to see the town do this and make a big deal, especially about the military members that we have here that join the military in Madisonville.
What's the time limit? It says be eligible for display until the banner becomes worn and must be replaced. That's probably at least a year, huh?
Well, in there, maybe not around here. I would think, if a hurricane comes through, maybe it's only up there for a week, who knows? But the way that they handle it is they actually have a waiting list there. So they've had a lot of interest in it, and you get on the waiting list, and then I think they leave them up year-round. What I'm talking about here is picking a month or two, like July, August, where we don't have a holiday season coming up.
Or Memorial to July 4th or something?
Yes, something like that.
I mean, you get both Veteran Days or whatever.
Right. And then we take it down, and if there's not a waiting list, and we get around to the next year and it's still in good enough shape, it could go back up.
I agree with that. I think it's a wonderful idea, And if we put it up during particular times of the year and take it down, it's going to last many more years. And certainly someone would only have that initial cost to get the banner printed, and hanging it would be an honor to the town to have someone from the town that served. So I think it's a wonderful idea. And certainly let's review this and see if there's, the other brochure that was handed out last month has a lot of very nice information and guidelines on it. And it just, I'm happy to see this go through, or for us to do something like this. What I did ask, though, is can you furnish the town, Deidre, myself, with the gentleman's information so that we can do something to honor that person when he comes to the meeting personally, from the town. Okay, yeah. And if we know of anybody else that is, doesn't require them to have a banner, but if they're joining the service, we should recognize them.
So this is for people joining the service?
Yes.
Okay, and then I think it's a great idea. Is the town going to put up a few other generic flags, like honoring our veterans or honoring our military in addition? I mean, ideally you have, 2 flags out because there's 2 people joining? I would like to see more, so I guess it's not.
And I agree that there wouldn't be that many joining every year, so I put on here also that you could nominate a friend or relative that's in the U.S. military or a veteran. So, but the only person who can nominate would be somebody here in town.
And so that brings and that's what I was getting at. So I don't know how many veterans there are in town. I mean, I believe Jerry Lane's served. So what? Well, I know Dale, and there's probably a few others, but those names could be put up. I mean, let's see, there's six more besides the 2 joined. But during that time, it'd be kind of nice to have a few more town flags, just saying, honoring our servicemen.
It could just be patriotic.
Way to cover it all.
It could be a patriotic theme, I see what you're saying, and that, if we're doing from, like, let's say May 15th before Memorial Day all the way till July 4th, then it kind of works with the whole patriotic theme. I see what you're saying. So that way it doesn't seem disjointed. It's almost like a...
really just a consideration here. Why would we limit it to just the hometown? I mean, we've got family members. I got a brother that serves.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
So it is? So it doesn't have to be from town? Yeah.
The application does. The applicant has to live in town. So that way it's a little more relevant. It's actual residents. Hey, this is my family member. This is my loved one.
Yeah.
I live here. I like them.
So from you to nominate someone.
You do that and then have generics. There can be really nice.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good idea.
This is great, Louis. Thank you.
Okay. Now that I'm lost. Okay. Well, that's, next thing on the agenda is Parks and Recreation, and there's nothing in here for that, and Public Safety, and there's nothing in here for that. Is there anything else that the council needs to bring to the meeting? Have a motion to adjourn?
Actually, can I,
Yes.
as far as Parks and Recreation go, I'm on board at Coquille, and tomorrow they're holding a public open house meeting from 5:30 to 7:30 at Gym 3. DDC, the engineering firm it's used, they're looking at the master plan of the vision for the next expansion, and they're looking for the public's input. So if I can share this with you, if you can share it on the Madisonville resident site, would be great. just looking to get opinions as the new master plan, the new developments, the things that are coming down the pike over there, just to get more input. That's tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
Oh, can I make one more plug?
Sure.
Sorry. The mayor and I have already talked about this. We have a local resident who in a few weeks, right now he's the odds-on favorite to be a top 5 draft choice in the major leagues. And his name is constantly on TV. It's constantly blared across the entire country, and it always has. Because earlier this year, they put Mandeville, and I went through the roof. I'm like, what? And Madisonville, Louisiana is constantly being broadcast across the United States. Kate Anderson, one of our locals who started right here on Pine Street, right, has spent his years playing at Coquille. He's probably going to be picked in the top 5 in the draft in just a few weeks. So there's 2 days left to voting. I shared it today on the residents. I rarely ever post anything on Facebook, but I put it on there today. There's a link. He's up for the most prestigious college baseball award there is in the country. It's called the Golden Spikes. Public opinion weighs very little in it. Right? Let's just get it boils down to performance, but he's made the final cut. He's in the final vote. It would sure be nice to see our town of a couple hundred people put up a nice vote for him. So I plead for you to please take 5 minutes, click the link, and vote for Kate Anderson.
Anybody else have anything before we? Motion by Councilman Dennis, second. Second by Councilman Haddix. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. If you would and can, please let Deidre know if you plan to go to the convention this year. The convention's in Lake Charles, and it is July 29th through the 31st. I don't know what they looked, if Volker looked at a filtration